Roman Prokopchuk here. Thank you for the ongoing support. Be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow on YouTube, on social, listen to the Digital Savage Experience YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roman Prokopchuk. Thank you for listening. Ukraine update, September 5th, 2022. Ukraine retakes 3 settlements, 2 in Kherson and 1 in the Donbas region, one of which is Vysokopia in Kherson region. The image of Ukrainian troops raising the Ukrainian flag on top of a hospital in the city has been geolocated and obviously attributed to the city. So 3 settlements in the last 24 hours under Ukrainian control that were occupied briefly in the past. Footage shows Russian troops firing artillery from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. So basically, Russia has been claiming to the nuclear inspectors, the world, that they're not housing any military equipment, they're not conducting any military operations from the power plant, but the video basically proves true, along with other evidence and other videos in the past that they actually have military equipment, not just supplies, within the nuclear power plant, and they're launching attacks, including obviously artillery attacks. Russian Prime Minister in Germany praises Germany military aid, seeks Leopard battle tanks. I really don't think Ukraine's going to get those battle tanks. Honestly, it's a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, because Germany has been really slow with providing their aid. Yes, they've provided some, but things that they've said and promised, some of which they've kind of backed out of, or they've taken forever to provide, because obviously Germany is heavily dependent on Russian oil. Russia, in the last few days, has cut off all oil to Europe. So Germany's kind of scrambling to buy up as much oil as they can from where they can in order to prepare for the winter months. So oil has been a chess piece in terms of holding Europe hostage, including how European countries, those within NATO, respond in the coalition to the war in Ukraine in terms of the Russian aggression. So Ukraine's air defense systems shoot down 70% of missiles. Obviously, this is a high amount. It can never really be 100%. And as long as Ukraine doesn't get the air defense systems, more technology, other things set up in major cities, and in terms of its perimeter along the axis of fighting, it's never going to be higher, I don't necessarily think, than 70%. Yes, it can eventually be in the high 90s, and maybe 9 out of 10 missiles coming towards Ukrainian territory being shot down. But currently, in the current state of what Ukraine has, that's obviously still pretty good. The largest yet caravan of grain ships leaves Ukrainian port via the grain corridor. Obviously, this is great, both from Ukraine, the perspective of, an export. Ukraine is a major exporter of grain. It's the breadbasket of Europe. And obviously, most importantly, for the people of, the Middle East and Northern Africa, where a lot of that grain goes, where a large percentage of the grain goes. So hopefully avoiding famine situations to area already impoverished and that have suffered through famine in the past as well. Russia is not an energy partner, Germany says, like I mentioned, which obviously that could change. And Russian weapons use outdated technology and poor quality components, research group says. Well, I mean, regardless of what the research group says or not, it's evident that Russia has thrown everything they've had in storage, a lot of Soviet era weapons, obviously poorly equipped, mainly not necessarily their own traditional forces, but giving a lot of this equipment to the Luhansk and Donetsk people republics, or so-called kind of pseudo states that Russia has tried to carve out in Ukraine since obviously 2014 of this, but obviously Russian aggression has been going on for hundreds of years. So a lot of the equipment, the firepower, the tanks, the personnel carriers you see from, is the 80s, the early 90s, that kind of stuff that never really got scrapped. They just took it out of storage and, moved it into the theater of battle. So that's kind of a news brief of some of the things that are going on. So obviously people are thinking that the counteroffensive itself, like impatiently waiting that it's going to be this like World War II blitzkrieg in terms of a lightning war where Ukraine sweeps through all of the Kherson Oblast and, goes all the way to Crimea in a week or two. That's not necessarily the case, and that's not what's going to actually happen based on the amount of equipment, amount of personnel, the size of the theater itself. So the front line in the south in Kherson is hundreds of miles where one, you have to defend, and if you're attacking or counter attacking from multiple fronts, that's logistically massive to do, especially for a military that in 2014 was riddled through, with corruption, similar to what Russia has been ongoing, because in the former Soviet Union, corruption was rampant, and still in Russia, it's still rampant. In former Soviet states that were under the Soviet Union, so Belarus, Ukraine, other countries, some of these mindsets haven't changed. So the level of corruption has stripped away some of these industries and some of these parts of the government and the military, where officials have sold off equipment, have taken funds that were earmarked for the military and have used it for personal gain. Obviously, the president that fled during the Orange Revolution back to Russia, that was a puppet of Putin. Uh, that's billions of dollars there stolen. So that corruption is ongoing. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that I think is going to take a generation or two of people really changing mindsets to really change that and make it a thing that's only talked about like it happened in the past. So I appreciate everybody listening. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the support. Slava Bohu, Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava, Slava Nazi. God bless.